Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am coming to you from Dublin, Ireland. I am here this weekend for a wedding, some very dear friends of mine, so I'm very excited about this. And I am gonna have a little bit of time to do some sightseeing, so I thought I would film a little travel vlog, a bit different than what I usually do, which is like a daily travel itinerary, but just the highlights of what I saw, what I did, where I ate while in Dublin, just to give you some inspiration if you are planning a trip here. So it's actually not my first time here. I've been here maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So I don't really remember a lot, so I do want to try and revisit some things. Starting with my first mission for the day is I'm going to the Guinness experience. So it's where we're all meeting to kick off the weekend wedding festivities. So it's about a 40-minute walk from my hotel. I'm staying at the Alex. So I'm gonna try and do that because I could really use some steps today. And yeah, let's go see. I've heard it's actually quite fun, so let's go see how it is. And then in the rest of this video, I'll show you what else I got up to in Dublin. So if that sounds good, off we go. So the Guinness Storehouse experience is amazing. I went into this experience rather skeptical because I don't consider myself to really be a Guinness drinker or a big fan of Guinness overall. I really have only had like 1 pint of Guinness in my life, now 2. But I now really understand why this is on every best of Dublin list, must-see experience. It really is cool, even if you're not a beer drinker or a Guinness drinker. So first and foremost, buy a ticket in advance and pick your time slot. Super important. This is mobbed at all times, so if you want to get in a speedy and efficient manner, pre-book. And then number 2, it's really confusing and a little bit chaotic going into the experience just because there are so many people. So I recommend just finding someone out front saying, hey, we've pre-booked our ticket. They'll usher you right through. You don't have to wait in line outside. And the same thing inside as well. You'll either get told to hold a little bit just for crowd control, or they'll usher you right in because you've pre-booked your ticket. And I do recommend either printing out your ticket or having it easily displayed on your phone. The website is very old school and really could use some modernization. So even if you can't print it, take a screenshot of the ticket on your phone. This will definitely speed up your experience. So when you go in, you come in there's the store, and there's this beautiful living wall that kind of welcomes you to the Guinness experience. I very sadly had just kind of passed through that when apparently this big old Irish band came through and did a whole performance for everyone. So I was really sad I missed that. Because I started to kind of go through and get immersed in the experience itself. And the whole experience is 7 different floors, and on each floor there's new things to learn about or experiences to have. So you really could plan to spend a lot of time in the Guinness Storehouse, depending on what you want to see and do. So the tour itself starts with learning about the ingredients that go into Guinness. So the whole experience, think about it as the most remarkable kind of storytelling experience about how Guinness is made, the history of the Guinness brand, the advertising and all the kind of iconic bits of it. It really is this wonderful immersive brand experience. And as someone who works in marketing, I think this is why I loved it so much, because I work in the marketing industry and I write business books on storytelling, and we basically were living an experiential brand story going through these 7 floors. So you start by learning about the ingredients. There's lots of interesting facts on how the ingredients are sourced, how much of the ingredients they use, and specific kind of ways they source them, or they kind of view the quality, which is really interesting. Again, be prepared to be kind of moving slow and kind of queuing, just because you get a bit bottlenecked at the beginning, kind of going around, but you start to realize there are ways you can kind of, if you don't want to completely follow the walking path, that you can do like some little shortcuts. So depending on how fast or how slow you want to go, you can just ride out the experience, or you can keep going. So I did a mix of both. Like some areas I wanted to spend more time in, and some I just wanted to like cut the queue and go, and it's a bit of a free-for-all, so it's totally fine. So really enjoyed this. And then after you kind of learn about the ingredients themselves, you go into the roasting process. So that's when you start to learn about more of like the processing of some of the ingredients, which I found really interesting. So for example, Guinness is one of the few breweries in the world to roast their own barley on site, working tirelessly 365 days per year. They roast about 21,000 tons of barley each year, and it takes about 2.5 hours for each batch to roast it to their kind of desired standards. So it's really interesting, and things you wouldn't necessarily think about just as the average consumer, but once you're there and you're kind of immersed in the experience, it's fascinating. Another fun fact that I thought was really cool is that every day at 10 a.m., a small team of expert taste testers at the St. James Gate check each and every brew of Guinness for quality consistency. Apparently someone's got to do it. Hashtag best job ever. Very cool. I think hands down my favorite part of the Guinness tour was the advertising section. So there's an entire section of a floor dedicated to just the brand advertising over the years. And Guinness is such a historic brand. You know, it even dates back to 1702 with the famous Guinness harp. It's on display there, which is really interesting. And it basically serves as the brand's famous emblem. And it's a depiction of a medieval Irish instrument known as the O'Neill or Brian Boru harp. And yeah, apparently it was originally made around the 14th century. So really cool. In this section, they also have some of the famous animals and characters on display, so it makes for a really fun kind of photo op moment. And I also loved seeing some of the old kind of print advertisements that say like, lovely day for a Guinness, or the imagery of the famous toucan. It says, if he can say as you can, Guinness is good for you, how grand to be a toucan. Just think what a toucan can do. I think I totally said that wrong. Tongue twister. You also have on display the very first print ad for Guinness, which is actually more like a small essay. And as someone who works in marketing and advertising, it's really remarkable to see just how far you know, advertising has come. They actually used to use the slogan, Guinness is good for you. I mean, now there's no way we could ever make a claim that any sort of alcoholic beverage is good for you. So really interesting, again, to kind of see all the artifacts, the print ads, and just some of the iconic characters and animals that they have used in their advertising over the years. So it's worth noting there are some other things that you can do. There is I think on the same level of the advertising floor, you can go and do a free Guinness tasting in a special tasting room. I didn't choose to do that. You also can go and learn how to pour a perfect pint of Guinness. And if you do it correctly, you get a certificate, which is hashtag bragging rights. So some of my friends did that. I chose not to do that. And then there was another experience that actually my friend Jay did on a separate visit that he messaged me about. It's Jay Bear for anybody else in the marketing industry. He's a very famous marketing author and speaker and a lovely friend. And he did a thing with his family where they got their photos printed on the top of the foam of their Guinness, and I didn't look into it enough in time to try and sort that out for myself, just because I knew we were going to be with such a big group. But again, look into all these things and do a lot of research on the website, because there's so many ways you can make your experience that much more memorable. I, after the advertising floor, made a beeline for the 7th floor gravity bar. This is where my friends were kind of all camping out after their tour experiences, and as I'm here for the wedding, this was more of a kind of, you know, touristy but also social opportunity. So I had my free ticket for my free Guinness, and I waited for it to settle, let the bartender tell me when I was allowed to take it. And I have to say, as someone who doesn't really think that I like Guinness, this was a really great Guinness. It was smooth, didn't have any overpowering like tanginess or anything that, I don't know, somehow in my head you just think because it's like a very dark beer it's gonna be like sour or tart or have like a kind of, you know, a strange flavor to it. No, it was really good and smooth and easy drinking. So I think if you're like me, you gotta have like one of those win in Rome, win in Dublin, especially at the Guinness experience there. Go have yourself a little bit of Guinness. So yeah, it was really fun, hugely enjoyed it. I absolutely would consider going back if I was back in Dublin with other friends, just to try some of those other experiences that I didn't get to this time. So I'll leave all the information linked down below where you can book, and if there's any other bits that I think are interesting, if I can find the foam picture experience, I'll leave a link to that too, because if I go back, I'm definitely doing that. All right, so when in Dublin, it's really fun to go take a stroll through the Grafton Street area. It's such a lively neighborhood. It's just filled with, you know, hotels, restaurants, bars. It kind of just feels like the energy of a street party at all times. So definitely a fun area just to wander through the little streets, maybe grab a bite to eat, a drink. There's also some shopping that you can do there. And I made a little stop at the Molly Malone statue, which is one of these kind of, I guess, iconic sites of Dublin, but it also has a little bit of an interesting history. Molly Malone is also known as Cockles and Mussels, and it's a popular song set in Dublin, and it's apparently become an unofficial anthem. If you all are Irish watching my channel, you can let me know if you agree or disagree. But the statue, you know, with Molly was unveiled in 1988 during the Dublin Millennium celebrations, and the song itself tells the fictional tale of a fishwife who plied her trade on the streets of Dublin and died young of a fever. And you know, she's typically represented as a hawker by day and a part-time prostitute by night, although there are some variations of this that say that Molly was not a prostitute and more just some, you know, hard-working girl. But the statue is rather voluptuous around the chest area, so I think that unfortunately is a little bit implied, but definitely something that you can go see, take your picture with when you are in Dublin. After the hustle and bustle of the Grafton Street area, I made my way down to the river. I think it's the Liffey River, and just did a little quick stroll along the water on my way toward the famous Temple Bar. I just figured I needed a little breather from the crowds, and it's always fun to walk around the river, isn't it? So it's very beautiful, and I walked by the famous Halfpenny, I'm so sorry, my pronunciations are probably not great, bridge, which is a historic bridge. It's pedestrian only, dates back to 1816, and it actually was a toll bridge back in the day. And the reason why it's called you know, apostrophe penny, is because the toll was 1.5 pence. So that's the nickname, but I guess it was kind of a controversial bridge because people didn't feel like they wanted to have to pay the toll to have ships go through it. But yeah, just something else you can see when you're in Dublin. But then it was off to Temple Bar. Temple Bar is a historic neighborhood in Dublin, and today it's very much known for being the place to party. There's all of these pubs, nightclubs. It feels like a gigantic nightlife tourist attraction that is open all day and into the evening. And even wandering through it in the afternoon, you definitely feel the sense that you've entered the party neighborhood. But there are some really cool looking kind of bars and pubs there, and it is fun, whether you're having a drink or not, just to go on a stroll through the neighborhood. So while the temptation was high to, you know, post up in a pub with blasting Irish music and, you know, start the drinking early, I decided I wanted to experience a little bit more history and culture, and I made my way over to St. Patrick's Cathedral. A friend who used to live in Dublin said that was a really interesting one to see, and his recommendation was spot on. St. Patrick's Cathedral, the present building dates back to 1220. And over centuries, this cathedral has seen and lived through a lot, including wars, revolutions, and a Reformation. And it was €8 for one adult ticket to go in. There didn't seem to be any restrictions on photo or video because no one stopped me with my camera filming, which was great. So I was happily just exploring and snapping away. But here's a couple little bits on the history of the church. So the church is home to many depictions of Ireland's most famous saint, St. Patrick, and it's not known what he actually looked like, so you'll actually see many different images of him in the cathedral, including statues and the west window. The cathedral itself is wonderful to explore. I love a historic cathedral, and this one really does take your breath away. There's just so much artistry in the stained glass, in the high kind of Gothic style kind of ceilings, and like a lot of the English cathedrals that I have toured, there's also a lot of kind of gravestones which have wonderful stories about kind of people's loved ones written into them, and just some very artistic ones as well. So you really appreciate how much thought and care people put into what adorned the walls of the church. So that was really wonderful to see. One thing that really caught me by surprise was Jonathan Swift, who is the author of Gulliver's Travels. They have this cabinet with kind of glass windows, and there is a molding of his face, because apparently between the 17th and the 19th centuries, they used to do molds of the faces of famous people, celebrities, kind of political or religious leaders at the time of their death before they were buried. So that was a way they could remember what they looked like, and they have it on, or like, I don't know if it's the exact one, because if so, it's been remarkably preserved, but they have kind of that on display, which mind absolutely blown. Another notable thing to mention when visiting the cathedral is the Tree of Remembrance, and it was created in 2014 to commemorate the centenary of World War I. It represents the stark destruction of the war, and visitors are involved to leave a message beside the tree to a loved one who was affected by the conflict. So if you do have time in Dublin, I think this church makes for a wonderful way to spend maybe an hour, read all of the placards. They also do have audio guides as well. I chose not to do the audio guide, and the funny thing is when you're not doing the audio guide, and a lot of other people are, I felt like everyone who was doing the audio guide were like audio guide zombies, because they just lost all ability of, like, people kept almost like running me over, like not paying attention with the audio guides. So don't be that person when you go to the church. Just be a little aware of your surroundings. Thank you very much. But yeah, really enjoyed the cathedral, and I think because of the way the light was hitting the stained glass, at one point saw a rainbow inside the church. So that's gotta be good luck, right? So on the morning of the wedding, I didn't get up to much, but one of my friends who was there with me in Dublin insisted on taking me to the Bean Hive, which is a coffee shop he discovered earlier on his visit, and he knew I would love it because they do Instagrammable art on top of the coffee, But the thing here is you have to order specific kinds of coffee for the art. They recommended that we do the cappuccino. You can come with a specific request, and if you go on the Beanhive's Instagram, you'll see some of the incredible creations. We decided to let the baristas kind of design something special for us, and it was such a treat. It's a family-owned business dating back to 2013 in Dublin, and it definitely is kind of, I guess the secret is out because of the Instagram and the coffee art, but the coffee was excellent and we thoroughly enjoyed our experience there. So I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for something to try in Dublin. With our coffees in hand, we made our way across the street to St. Stephen's Green, which is a large public park in the center of Dublin. It's absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend a walk through here if you're visiting Dublin. The park also has a lot of history. It was actually created in 1664. It originally was a place for grazing for animals. Then it was eventually only accessible to local residents, but after some public protesting, it was later open to the general public in 1880. But we just enjoyed such a beautiful day there. Hey guys, just hopping on here to show you what I am wearing for the wedding. I'm obviously not going to vlog the wedding, but this is a little Ted Baker number, and I've got some jewelry that I've had for ages just to go with. But yeah, really looking forward to it. Good morning, guys. So, well, we're like 12:30. If I sound a bit different, it's because I had the wedding last night, and you know, Irish weddings lost my voice a bit. Yeah, was really fun. So now I'm just about to check out of my hotel, the Alex. I am doing a dedicated hotel room and stay review, so make sure you're subscribed to this channel if you want to see that. But I have now booked myself in for a tour of Trinity College and the library, so let's go check that out. I'm really excited to see. I've heard from friends that it's a really interesting tour and the library itself is beautiful, so off we go. Before I went to the Trinity College Library and the Book of Kells exhibition, I went to KC Peaches for some brunch, and I will say the coffee was excellent. I had an oat milk vanilla latte, which came looking like a work of art and was equally delicious to boot. But where things went a little astray was the main. I decided just to go for poached egg on avocado toast, but they decided to serve it with Italian dressing, which just really wasn't good and wasn't on the menu for me to even ask them to omit. So, mixed reviews here. Next up, it was off to Trinity College for my booking for the Book of Kells and the library. So, it's very crowded there, is what I would say, so just prepare yourself. It's kind of strange to think of a university as a tourist attraction, but it absolutely is. The university was founded in 1592 by Queen Elizabeth I. It is absolutely beautiful. When you walk through campus, you do feel like you're stepping back into time, so you do see that it really is, so many years old. The Book of Kells exhibit I had some mixed reviews on it just because it is so crowded. You absolutely have to book a ticket. Don't think that you can just rock up here and expect to walk in. On the day that I had booked, they were not allowing any walk-ins. It was for ticket holders only, and you have every 15 minutes there's a time slot, so just book one, commit to it. They actually let me in a little bit before my time slot. So the exhibition itself is really cool because there's so much you can wander around and read and learn about the Book of Kells itself, which I found to be super useful. So the Trinity College Library is also a wow moment. It is just as beautiful as you see in the pictures, and actually arguably even more so. There are a lot of people there, but I still thoroughly enjoyed my visit to the library. Now, the reason why it's paired with the Book of Kells is because the Book of Kells, as well as some other famous documents like the Proclamation of the Irish Republic, and actually also the Brian Boru harp, which you might remember from earlier in this vlog about the kind of Guinness experience, are also on display. So this is a really lovely spot to really immerse yourself, look at all the nooks and crannies, look at all of the books, learn about kind of the cataloging system for the books. It really just is super spectacular. And then after that, I decided to have a little stroll around the campus because, you know, as you do, Trinity College is still, I think, ranked in the top 50 universities in the world. It's a very prestigious university, and obviously because it dates back to 1592, it's also quite historic. So I just enjoyed seeing all the different kind of academic buildings, some of the unique things that they had on display. And I also even stumbled upon the botanical kind of, I guess, garden part of the not library campus later on, which was quite spectacular to see. I love parks and gardens. Somehow I always find the flowers wherever I go. And I would definitely encourage you to do this. You know, you'll see a lot of people kind of hanging out on park benches, maybe bringing some sandwiches in to hang out. It's definitely something you could easily do on a visit to to Trinity College, combined with kind of the Book of Kells and the library visit. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's just another tough thing where there's just so many crowds, so you do have to brace yourself. And I don't really have good advice on if there is a way to escape the crowds in these tourist attractions because they are among the most visited sites in Dublin. So after that, I had to kill a little time before I caught my flight back to London. So I made my way over to Merrion Square Park, which is right next to the hotel I was staying at, the Alex. And Merrion Square Park is definitely more of a locals park. But something that was quite cool on the Sunday is all lining the outside of the park, there were artists selling their paintings and artworks, which was really special to see. But I just had a little stroll through the park. If you wanted to get like an ice cream or something, there was an ice cream truck in the middle of the park. And what I saw was a lot of families with kids playing at the playground, because there's a great playground there, which I didn't film for obvious reasons. And there also were a lot of families just enjoying picnics on the weekend. So if you did want to do something like that and just escape the tourist crowds while in Dublin, this would be a great place to do it, because it was this pretty kind of calm and quiet oasis. Hey guys, so before I wrap up the video, here's a few of the places I ate. First one up is Brewdog, where we had some incredible chicken wings and some just as naughty loaded like barbecue fries. Unbelievable. I also had a really great brunch in my hotel, basically more like lunch, but I had this kind of bacon egg sandwich, which was super hearty and filling, and a great iced latte to go with it. I mean, this was like the equivalent of like a bacon club sandwich, bacon and egg club sandwich, sorry. Super, super good. I also want to give a shout out to this cafe called White Rabbit, which had excellent coffee and these really great takeaway salads. There also was a customizable salad bar, but because I was in a rush, I got this bacon chicken Caesar salad, and it just really hit the spot when I was in a rush and needed some food before one of our wedding-related events. And then last but not least, Passion, the number 4 food, was this really great Middle Eastern spot, and I think arguably one of the better meals I had while in Dublin. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to my Dublin travel vlog. This wraps up my video on Dublin. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. That really does help this channel. Have you been to Dublin? Is there anything really interesting that you've seen? A great place that you've stayed? Any other restaurants or things that you recommend doing? Please leave them in a comment down below, because sharing is caring here on this channel. And if you want to see some more great kind of travels, hotel reviews, some snippets of my life in London, please hit that subscribe button. There is a lot more great, there are many more videos coming your way if I can actually speak properly. So thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will see you soon.